Hi, welcome to my video on the percent of increase. Percent of increase. Let's add each. 12 added to 20 is 20 plus 12, which is 32. 31 added to 56 is 56 plus 31, which is 87. Notice that 20 is increased by 12. Notice that 56 is increased by 31 added to. Now let's change from 12 to 32. Well, 32 take away 12 is 20. And the change from 56 to 87 is 87 subtract 56, which is 31. So notice we're adding, to find the increase we have to subtract. That's working through A and B. Find the increase in each. If you increase from 50 to 60, then 60 subtract 50 will give you 10. B, if you go from 100 to 150, it's 150 subtract 100, which is 50. So your increase is 10 in the first one, 50 in the second one. You work out these, just pause the video, work them out and come back and see. 90 subtract 70 is 20. So the increase is 20 from 70 to 90. 158 subtract 38 is 120 increase. So that's the increase. Now, we did all that just to show you about increase, or I did all that to show you about increasing. Now I want to find the percent of increase. The percent of increase is the increase divided by the initial amount or number, changed to a percent. So find the percent of increase in each. So I've ordered this from 10 to 13, the increase is 10. 13 subtract 10, the increase is 3. So the increase is 3 over the initial, which is 10. And 3 over 10 is multiplied by 10 over 10. So you get 30 over 100, which is 30%. Or you can divide with a calculator. Remember, out of 100 is the percent. The increase from 50 to 80, 80 subtract 50 gives you 30. The increase is 30 over the initial, which is 50. Initial is what we started with. And because it's 30 over 50, then 30 over 50, we can multiply it by 2 over 2. That gives us 60 over 100, which is 60%. So there's a 60% increase. So if I take 60% of 50, I get 30 and add it on, I get 80. If I take 30% in A, 30% of 10 is 3. 3 added on to 10 gives me 13. From 80 to 120, 120 subtract 80 gives me 40. So the increase is 40 over the initial, which is 80. And notice the 40 over 80 reduces down to 1/2, and 1/2 is 50%. So if you divide 80 into 40, you get 0.5, which is 50%. Let's continue. Let's practice now. Work these out, and you work the two of these out and see if you got the right answer. So the increase from 20 to 27 is 27 minus 20. So your increase is 7. So we take the 7, which is the increase, and put it over the initial, which is 20. So 7 over 20, you multiply it by 5 over 5, you get 35 over 100. And 35 over 100 is 35%. So 35% multiplied by 20 will give you a 7, and then you can add it on. Perfect. The increase, 150 from 120 to 150, you can see that when you subtract, you get a 30. So the increase is 30 over the initial of 120. Cancel your zeros, and you get 3 into 3 goes once, 3 into 12 goes 4. 1/4 is 25%. Or you can take 1/4 and multiply it by 25 over 25, which is 25 over 100, which is 25%. Or you can divide 4 into 1 and get 0.25. But 1/4 is 25% because I've memorized it. You should memorize it. Now let's work out some problems. I've done 2 examples for you here, and then you can do 2 and check it out. Let's go through. Rainfall was 80 millimeters in June 2018. It was 100 millimeters in June 2019. Find the percent of increase in June. So it was 80, it went to 100, so 100 minus 80 gives me a 20 millimeter increase. So that's 20 millimeters over the initial 80. So 20 over 80, the zeros cancel, and I get a 1/4. And 1/4 is 25%. These are not designed to be overly difficult. They're designed to give you a pattern and help you think. Don't want to make the numbers difficult. They just understand what's going on. The average daily attendance of a group went from 200 to 234. Find the percent of increase in attendance. So 234 subtract 200 gives 34. So the increase is 34 people, and it's over the initial number, which is 200. And if you take a calculator and divide that out, or if you reduce it down, 2 into 100, 2 into 200 goes 100, 2 into 34 goes 17, and 17 over 100 is 17%. If you divide with a calculator, I'm going to use a calculator here now, and just show you. Let's turn it on, and we have, what is it? 34 divided by 200. So 34 division 200 gives you 0.17, and 0.17 is 17%. So you try these 2 on your own now to see if you come up with the right answer. A balloon has a volume of 25 cubic millimeters. That's an M there. When placed in a warm, very hot room, the volume increased to 26.2 cubic millimeters. Find the percent of increase in volume. Well, it went from 25 to 26.2, so that's 1.2 increase. So 1.2 over the initial, which is 25. Now you can use the calculator to figure this out, or you can multiply it by 4, and that'll give you 100 on the bottom, and it'll give you 4.8 on the top. So 4.8 over 100 is 40.8%. Again, use a calculator, and you'll get decimal. If you use a calculator, you'll get decimal 0.48, and the decimal moves 2 places to the right. A plant 64 centimeters tall grew to a height of 112 centimeters in 1 year. Find the percent of increase in the height in 1 year. So 112 was the final, 64 was the initial, and when we subtract 112, we get 48. 48 is the initial. 48 was the amount of increase, and the initial was 64. Now, if you reduce this down or you use your calculator, your choice. Let's try the calculator. 48 divided by 64. 48 division 64. What do we get? Decimal 75. So decimal 75 is 75%. That's your increase. Again, you can reduce this down and you'll get, let's divide by 2. So if you divide by 2, you'll get 24 over 32. Divide by 2 again, and you'll get 12 over 16. Divide by 2 again, and I'll get 6 over 8. Divide by 2 again, and I'll get 3 over 4. And this reduces down to 3/4. So 3/4 is 75%. Let's continue. This is another type of word problem, but it's related to increase. But let's see how this one fits in. Just laid out different, but it's an increase. Find the number if 40 is increased by 20%. 40 is increased by 20%. So that means you have to take 20% times 40. 20% is decimal 2 times 40. And when you multiply that, you'll get an 8, 0, 1 decimal place right there. So you get an 8. So the number is 8 is the increase. So 40 plus 8 is 48. So the number as a result of 40 is increased by 20% becomes 48. So it's just different from the other one, but it's related to increase. A town's population in 2018 was 50,000 people. If it grew 9.5% in 1 year, what is the population in 2019, 1 year later? Well, that was the population. So 50,000 people times 9.5%. So 50,000 people times 9.5%. So you change your half to 0.5. So that's 50,000 times decimal 0.95. When you move the decimal 2 places to the left, your percent becomes a decimal. So when you multiply that, so now I'm going to use my calculator. So I got 50,000 times decimal, and check that percent, 0.95. And I have 4,750. So that's 4,750. So the population was 50,000. Now it grew 4,750. So you add that on, and you get a 0.574. So the new population is 54,750 because it increased by 9.5%. You work these two out and pause the video, work these out, and hit play to see if you're right. A person earns an hourly wage of $12. The wage is increased by 15%. What is the new hourly wage? So that means 15% times 12. Let's find out what that is. That's decimal 15 times 12. So 15 times 12, let's see, do I want to rely? So 15 times 12 is 180. So we get 180, and we got 2 decimal places right there. So that's $1.80. So if the wage is $12 and you increase it by $1.80 because that's the increase, then you make $13.80 is your new hourly wage. So 15% off the 12 is your increase. Number 2, the volume of water in a container is 2,500 milliliters. When heated, the volume expands by 6.25%. So find a new volume. So 6.25% times 2,500. 6.25% of that, 1/4 is decimal 25. 1/4 of a dollar is 25 cents. Change the percent to decimal, decimal 0.625 times 2,500. So 2,500 times, just making sure, decimal 625. 0.0625, and I have 156.25. So 156.25. So the volume increased by 6 1/4, 6 1/4 of 25. So I have 500, add on 156.25. The decimal in 2,500 is on the right. Line up your decimals. You got a 5, 2, 6, 5, 6, 2. And so there's the new volume, 2,656.25 is the new volume. Milliliters. That's milliliters. That's the some work done on the percent of increase. And if you like my video, then press on the like button, the subscribe button, notification, because there's more videos coming in the future. Write a comment on my videos if you wish, and visit my website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, and there you'll find information about me, the videos, the type of teaching, and the content that I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.